This naturally leads into the question that I had parked aside, so we can explore it now, which is about the political setup and whether democracy itself creates these trend lines or these patterns. You have explored a lot of these trend lines in your essays, in your book. I'll just point out three to add to the ones you've already pointed out. One, there's always a reversal to the mean towards populism. You've covered how Indira Gandhi, who had no political ambition, very quickly started resorting to populism. You said that if Lal Bahadur Shastri had completed his term, Indira Gandhi wouldn't have made it into politics itself. Rajiv Gandhi would have been a pilot. Rahul Gandhi would have been a mid-level manager in some corporation. Her son, Rajiv Gandhi himself, had no political ambitions, got into politics, very quickly started resorting to populism, like in the Shah Bano case. Another trend line that emerges is India's tendency to gravitate towards a cult of personality. You've made the case that people voted for Nehru over the Congress or Indira over the Congress, and arguably people vote for Modi now over the BJP. And another trend line or pattern that emerges is most political parties seem to reach an equilibrium state where they become family firms, right? So Congress has become a family firm, Shiv Sena, DMK, Akali Dal. None of these are comforting as a citizen. And it's not just happening in India, it's happening in most democracies across the world. So it raises the question whether the target state, which is democracy, is in itself skewed in some way, because it's, as long as this exists, there will be politicians who want to garner power, keep it within themselves, appease the masses, right, manipulate the media. So do you think we have to rethink the democratic structure as well?
I think you have to rethink democracy, but not the democratic structure or the democratic way of life. In fact, I'm not a great fan of Winston Churchill, but one of his statements, I think, which still rings true is to the effect that democracy is the worst form of government except for all your other side. So I think, more transparency, reform of the electoral system in India, moving not towards proportional representation, because that would require a new constitution, but a system in which has been proposed by the Association of Democratic Reforms, where in every constituency, the winning candidate has to win more than 50% of the vote. So shall we say this constituency where we are speaking is called Shivaji Nagar. Okay. Now in Karnataka, there are three major parties, and sometimes all three put up candidates: the Congress, the JDS, and the BJP. And usually with 35-40% of the vote, you can win. But if you have to get 50% plus one, and if you don't, there's a runoff between number one and number two, which can easily be done today with the sophisticated voting system we have. So there may be some kind of then cross ownership of in media are not allowed, so that the Adanis and the Ambanis can't own media channels because they own everything else in so many other sectors. So there are ways in which we can have a less malfunctioning democracy. Personality cults and family firms are maybe more difficult to eradicate, because they are linked to how Indian society has organized itself over centuries, and maybe millennia. Though obviously social media heightens it. Trump, not just in India, Trump is a creation of social media. Boris Johnson was a creation of social media. And it's difficult to see outstanding but uncharismatic politician like Angela Merkel becoming as successful as she was any time in the near future. But I think, authoritarianism will not work in a country as large as ours. It's worked in China, but at a horrific cost. But we are so large, we're so diverse. I think more decentralization, so away from Delhi to the states, and power and authority and responsibility and financial accountability away from Delhi to the states, and from the states to villages and panchayats and municipalities. These are all ways in which I think thinkers more qualified than me, people who think about institutional reform in a much more systematic and informed way than I do as a historian. I think they have written about these things. But the idea that, today what we're seeing, I've said, I'm not very, I read long books, as you know. India After Gandhi is 900 pages. My 2-volume biography, Gandhi, is 2,000 pages. I read long books. And I'm not very good at sound bites. But one of the remarks I'm proud of, because I made it several years ago, and it's turned out to be unerringly accurate, was when I said Narendra Modi is Indira Gandhi on steroids. That's what. So there's a centralization of power in an individual, in a party, and in the central government, and that I think is terribly dangerous. And of course, the pandemic hastened that. I mean, Indira Gandhi needed an emergency to do it. Here, without the emergency, because of the pandemic, we could slowly shift power away from the states. And the states need to decentralize too. There's too much power in the secretariat here in Karnataka and not enough in the districts or in the towns. So I think these are ways in which democracy can be configured differently. But you can't have an authoritarian. I mean, it would not. I mean, America is being damaged by Trump. I mean, the greatness of America is so undermined by ceding so much power and authority to one person. Look at what he's done to the institutions, to the courts, to the military, to the and above all to the universities. That as in America, democracy and pluralism and diversity are our strengths.
In the first edition of India After Gandhi, when you were confronted with the question of whether India is a democracy, you had borrowed a line from Johnny Walker and he said 50-50. In a later edition, you brought it down to 30-70. Very good.
Yeah, yes.
Now I need a latest status update from you. What's the status of India? Is it 30-70 better, improved?
It's about 30-70, 25-75, 30.
Oh, getting worse.
Maybe getting slightly worse. From that point of view.
Okay, very comforting. Okay. Hopefully it improves over time.